Are you ready, kids? Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. Now this is the story of a man named Adam Clark. If you check out Black Scorpion Miniatures on Instagram, you can see some of his work. This is some of the stuff he sculpted for Games Workshop back in the day. You can see he touched Space Marines, Eldar, classics in the game. And also some of the fantasy stuff, in particular the Bretonnians, and some of that stuff has now come back round and they're selling his sculpts again, even though he hasn't worked for the company for 20 years. I became aware of Black Scorpion Miniatures, Adam's now company, that he founded in 2005. The man's been doing this for almost 20 years, when I went to the UK Games Expo and I saw the beautiful pirate miniatures and they gave me that fizz. You know, that little fizz deep down in you that makes you want to paint something. These miniatures gave me that fizz and I chose Cutlass as my fantasy pick of the expo for 2024. And I couldn't, with good faith, tell you to go and check out this company unless I'd done a deep dive on them myself. So they do a ton of games at Black Scorpion Miniatures. Brennan Moore is their classic, fantasy knights and wizard range, and they even got this cool king on a toad. That is a cool miniature, my friends. And another big section on their website is dedicated to Tombstone, which is a cowboy theme, but it's also still got that little edge of fantasy as it does feature some undead miniatures. But the one that gave me that fizz deep down is Cutlass, the pirate themed miniatures game. So here will be my paint up of some of the miniatures, quite a lot of the miniatures to be honest, and a review of the game at the end. Let's talk about price first. £10 for a set of 4 miniatures. £4.50 for a character. Games Workshop, take note. Character tax, be gone! Let's have a little look at the miniatures that I got from the expo and the ones I purchased after that. But first, you may be thinking, Max, where did you get that sick pirate ship t-shirt? Very thematic, very on point. Let me tell you, it's today's sponsor, Into the AM. They have a fantastic range of sick graphic tees. You know that on this channel I usually wear a black t-shirt with something on it. Well, this is a good place to get them and look just like your boy. So I picked 3 because they do have great bundle deals, like this bundle deal on screen now. Now these 3 sick t-shirts can be 10% cheaper if you use my link. That's intotheam.com/Lizard of Doom. All jokes aside, I do think these t-shirts are really good and I will be buying some more myself. I'm a massive fan of these big graphic tees and they have a brilliant selection there on intotheam.com. They've also got a 4th of July sale on at the moment, so if you log on you can have a little look at that to commemorate the one time that Britain's ever been beaten in a war. Don't at me, Frenchies. So a massive thank you for Into the AM for sponsoring this video. I'll be wearing this shirt throughout this video and see if you can spot the other 2 incoming videos coming in the next couple of weeks. It's really important that our sponsors support this channel, my audience, my lovely community, support them too. So check out the link down below in the description. It is intotheam.com/Lizard of Doom for an extra 10% off. That's a lot of doubloons you be saving there, matey. This is the pack I bought at the UK Games Expo. These were my favourite on the day and I enjoyed painting them up off camera just for me. I enjoyed them so much that I wanted to continue to paint some more pirates, so I invested in some more packs. This is my second favourite pack. The captain is pretty damn cool and it comes with some Very in the crew. These are £10 a pack of 4. That's pretty good. £10 for 4 miniatures. You'll be hard pressed to find that anywhere else. And also, as well as pirates, I bought some rogues. Now these guys are lower level crew members, but they've got just as much character, loads of nice piratey bits on them, without being over detailed. And you can really see how much thought and effort has been put into each sculpt. Everyone is different. They also came with a free gift. I only spent 20 quid, but they also sent me a free miniature, so that's very nice of them indeed. So I thought I would prime them up in black and work up from there. But before that, I also modified 2 cannons from my old Empire Fantasy stuff to fit this because there are cannons in the game, and then decided to work on them first, using a bit of Incubi Darkness, dry brushed over the top of the cannon. This is my dry brush palette, a little bit of product placement available at lizardofdoom.com. This helps me get the perfect consistency for dry brushing over the top here. This is how I do cast iron, a little bit of Incubi Darkness, and then some rust with the Mournfang Brown. I decided to do this step first, because nothing else really needs this cast iron effect. So I thought I'd get it out of the way on the cannons and then I can focus on the pirate miniatures for the rest of the project. This is really quick and really simple. The way I would do the rust is to get some Mournfang brown onto my wet palette and then water it down significantly. I'm going for a glaze level consistency with the Mournfang brown. This means it will flow into recesses nicely and just stain a little bit of orangey brown and not look too overbearing and make it look like these cannons have been at sea for a long time. I want to make it look like they've had these cannons on the ship and then they've wheeled them onto land for this fight. Make sure I get it in all the little recesses where water would collect and grime would build up. But also, it's important to get it around all the nuts and bolts on the strapping around the cannon as well, because water would also collect in these points. Once that's all done and dry, this is what the cast iron looks like. I'll come back to these cannons at wood time when I'm doing the wood on the rest of the pirates as well. This is my favourite skin recipe for Caucasian white skin. I start with a Screamer pink, and I was going to try something new, Nagaroth purple for more of a black skin tone. This is to get the kind of lower recesses, a little bit more of an interesting colour, but still look like there's blood flow, because the pink has red in it, the purple also has red in it. So it was a bit of an experiment to see whether this would work on a black skin tone, because I haven't painted in this style before for a black skin tone. As you can see, we leave it just in the very recesses and glaze up from there. So you can see the purple and the pink underneath there, and we move up through those colours. Glazing slowly building in smaller areas all over the miniature where the light would hit from the top, because the source light is coming from the top in this instance. And I don't think the purple works as well as the pink, but it adds some more depth and interest to the miniature rather than it just being straight up from a black or dark brown colour. Yeah, I kind of like it, but as you can see, the pink looks better for like a sunburnt pirate. But now I would experiment with some body hair, so you can see the different types of body hair I've done here. Dashes for the Caucasian body hair in blacks and greys, and stippling in black for the more afro body hair. Just a little bit of fun and an experiment. So not only did I go ham on the skin tones, I also did something. You know the pirate brand on Jack Sparrow from the East India Trading Company in the films? I may have done that on a few of them as well. So you can see the size of the miniature. God damn, I meant to be batch painting here. I've gone too far. I even used some of that Incubi Darkness I used earlier for the iron to do some blue faded pirate tattoos. Obviously nautical themed as much as possible. Little anchors here and there, skulls and crossbones, little sparrows like Jack Sparrow's tattoo, and other bits and bobs I could fit in places on the miniatures. Once that was done, I would use these bone colours for kind of a dirty cloth effect, like old linen shirts that these crew have been wearing for months at sea. So they're not going to be bright white, nice and clean. This yellowing of the bone colours really adds to that effect that these are worn in old linen cloth shirts and trousers and bits and bobs. Now, black and chocolate brown from Vallejo, I was going to try and glaze up from black to brown, mixing more and more in every time to make a dark brown coat. I'm batch painting these, so I'm trying to save as much time as possible while still making them look good, and using only 2 colours to get to this point. It's pretty good. I'm really happy, and I'm going to use this recipe for dark leather and dark brown cloth on a lot more things, I think. Just 2 colours, really simple, nice end result. I wanted to see if you could do it with lighters from chocolate brown to heavy brown, so I also did some cloth on these miniatures in that. It was a bit harder to glaze in between. Maybe I should have been a bit more patient and done some more thin layers because it's a bit more of a step up. But I think it works. It looks a bit more like a Flasher-Mac, so maybe I won't do too many of these in the future. But yeah, it works. Nice bit of variance. I'm trying to use the same colours on these miniatures, but spread them out in different points, so no miniature looks like it's wearing the same clothes. Now for the crew colour, red is going to be my crew colour, starting with black red, moving up to red, then dark vermilion. The black red is a very interesting colour because it goes on very strangely. I'm putting this on in 2 thin coats. I think I ended up doing 3 thin coats just because the consistency of this one's a little bit odd compared to the rest of the Vallejo paints, and I thinned it quite nicely and you can see the black through. But look at the colour it goes on. It goes on this light pink colour. Now I've time-lapsed this, me holding it very still for about 5 minutes. Look how dark it turns. It says black red on the bottle, so this is what you would expect it to be. I was just kind of shocked at how bright it looks when it goes on and pinky, kind of like a tusk or fur colour. But in the end, lovely dark red. Then we'll glaze up through the red, building into smaller and smaller areas on the higher and higher points. This is going to be the only kind of semi-vibrant colour for this crew. I had a lot of look at pirate things, like I watched all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies while I did these paint jobs, and the crews actually look very, very drab. So I just wanted one pop of colour across this entire crew, just to bind them all together and make it look like a team on the table. After this, the final little burst of vermilion on all the high points, and we are there. I've picked smallest areas possible on all the models to do the red, so it's not overbearing. Like this guy's hat is probably one of the biggest red areas on a miniature, and it looks very, very vibrant and very nice. Now for the leathers, I'll be doing Rhinox hide base and then just edge highlighting with Doomball brown and Tuskor fur, just to make it look like there is some difference between the leather and surrounding areas, just to pick them out so they're not just dark straps across them, but also it's a very quick method to do this. No glazing, no nonsense like that. Back to speed painting for the batches. I was really happy with the stripes on these trousers. A lovely different way to do red than just do a whole piece of cloth in red. You may be thinking, Max, why the bright red? Well, let me tell you, the bright red looks a bit out of place amongst all the other muted colours, but my friend went for the dwarves in this fantasy pirate game, and he is doing them in blue. So we are doing a classic blue versus red game to kind of get an idea of that game when we're painted and review the game as well. I'm going to give you my thoughts on the game as well, as I mentioned earlier. But yeah, bright red is my colour. Now, unfortunately, I lost some footage. That doesn't happen a lot to me on this channel. Usually I'm pretty good and I never miss anything, but some footage got corrupted. Now that would be some quite important footage, because I tried out this, Vallejo's NMM kit. This is instructions and the paints to do NMM in one kit. Now I half-arsedly tried once before and gave up because I was bad at it, but this kit gave me some very interesting results. Sorry for the corrupted footage. There's not a lot I can do about it. If you do want a full video on this kit, then let me know in the comments below. I was super happy with the results from this Vallejo kit. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect, but for someone who only made one half-assed attempt at NMM and then gave up because it looked like ass, this is pretty good. So I'm counting these as my first proper attempt, and following the steps in this kit were perfect. Let me know if you do want the full video on that. Now onto the wooden areas, Dryad Bark as the base, then my favourite 50-50 mix of shades, Camo Shade and Agrax, and then onto a mix of Heavy Brown and Dryad Bark for the highlight, just to punch it up a little bit from there, but not too much. There's not a lot of wood on the Pirates, mainly it is just gun handles, but they have guns all over them. Also, it's back to the cannons for the wood. They need their frames and everything painted in the same manner. Just a little bit of edge highlighting with that Dryad Bark and Heavy Brown mix, more Dryad Bark than Heavy Brown, just to pop these guns out again and give them some shape. After this, it is on to the little accessories. All the pirates have little bits and bobs, my favourite being the parrot. So I did it as a red macaw, obviously for my crew being the red colour. And it's very classically pirate. And I wet blended all of the colour into the wings, leading down from the red through orange to yellow, then green with a large amount of blue at the bottom, because I was painting from a reference photo of one of these parrots in real life. Pretty happy with that. Quite hard to do on quite a small area to wet blend between, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colours. But yeah, nice. Then onto the base. Heavy Brown's back, and that's going to be my wet sand side of the base. And then Ushabti Bone is going to be my light sand side of the base. I'm going to be wet blending between the two to create this effect on the bases, to make it look like they're coming up the beach from their pirate ship, like they've just landed in their small boats and they're coming in for a fight. These are the two I did from the previous set that I got from the expo, and now it's time to do the same on the rest of them. Quite easy. It takes a couple of coats though, because it's going on quite thin, because I don't want to clog up the sand on the base. Really easy to do. For some reason, Games Workshop thought this was worth a whole masterclass video on the Warhammer Plus streaming service to tell you how to put 2 wet paints on and then smush them together in the middle. Here it is in 30 seconds. Put 2 wet paints on and then smush them together in the middle. Takes a couple of coats because you want to put it on nice and thin, but when you've got it on nice and thin, easy peasy. Let's talk about basing materials. Now these are the 2 things I'm going to be using on the bases. Number 1 is some really cheap, really cheap aquarium fake fern, whatever the hell this is, a little bit of seaweed. That's what we're going to be using it for. Tearing tiny little bits off like this, you can see you're left with some nice realistic shapes. The shells, they were purchased on eBay. They are little tropical snail shells, and they are perfect to be, like full-size conch shells or something like that. This is a fantasy game, so they could be a race of giant snails on whatever tropical island they are on. So I'll attach them with a little bit of super glue, but I won't be painting them. They're lovely colours in themselves, lovely textures. I don't think they need me messing around with them, so I'm going to keep them as is. Little dot of super glue, stick it on the base and press it down just to make sure it stays. There we go, time for some seaweed. For this, I got some PVA glue, got one little bit of that little plant that I had earlier and soaked it in the PVA glue, adding a little bit of water as well, just to thin the PVA glue down. Got a cocktail stick, put it on the base and arranged it however I wanted and let it dry. Easy peasy. Now, normally I'd be cutting to reveal shots right about now, but I had some further testing to do. There were some cool moments in the game, but unfortunately, I didn't like it. It's free rules, which is really nice, but they are not very balanced. You can see all these different shaped dice we had on the table. That's because there are no modifiers in the game. Everyone uses a different dice dependent on their skill level, and that is incredibly hard to balance. It has its issues. So for instance, dwarves are very tough as they are in a lot of games, but kind of as a rule, they have a D8 for their constitution in this game, which stops them being harmed. It's like strength versus toughness in Warhammer. And then my human crew, some of the lower downs had like D4s to attack. So when I was rolling my D4, there was just a 50-50 chance that my friend rolled higher on the D8 to go against them, and it wouldn't matter. Whatever I rolled wouldn't matter, and that didn't feel great. And also the way that when you get injured or when you get stunned, you get dropped down a dice. So the moment someone's injured, they're kind of written off for the game, and that was also not very feels good. The review of the game it's not great. It needs work and it needs development. And I like the idea of using the different dice, but I feel like there's a reason that the biggest games like Warhammer don't do that. I think modifiers would be a better way to do it, and one type of dice. It could be a different type of dice if you want to remain funky and indie and quirky. You could be D8s, it could be D10s, it could be something, and just have negative and positive modifiers. That's my review of the game, but the miniatures, mwah, chef's kiss. I do want to get even more of these miniatures. I've had a great time painting them, but here's the interesting thing. What do you guys think I should do with these miniatures? So I'm not going to be playing Cutlass with them anymore, but I will be buying more of the range because I love the miniatures. What should I use them as? Is there a Warhammer army that I could count as? Or is there, another skirmish game that you think these would be good for? Let me know in the comments below, and I will have a little think about a little future project on the channel for what to do with these pirates. But without further ado, let's have a little look at some reveal shots. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. If you would like to do that too, the link is in the top right now and also in the description. At the moment, I'm going to be giving this little announcement for the next month on the videos because this is my first month going part-time in my day job to focus on content creation. So right now is a really important time for me, and if you've been watching the channel for a while and considering to support this channel, now is the moment where I need you. Thank you for everyone who interacts with the videos and leaves comments and likes as well. That is really helpful getting the videos out there. If you can't afford to join the Patreon and want to support in a free way, please just leave a little comment like, "Yar matey," or something of that kind. And then that helps me with the algorithm. It gets it in front of more people who will watch the video. So thank you to everyone who does support me, and thank you to everyone who supports me via leaving comments and likes. So thank you all for watching. I felt really cringy, telling people to join the Patreon then, so sorry, that didn't feel great, but your support is greatly appreciated and needed at this time.
That is all for today from Captain Marks. Remember, it is not a pile of shame, it be a pile of future fun. See you next time, kids. Peace.